How the heck are you guys? Let's get right into it. I'm Fastidious. Welcome to the channel. Should you summon tomorrow on the special ancient summoning banner for Rygar and Carnelian? Well, this is actually a pretty dang good banner. We rarely have gotten Carnelian on rate up, only once before, and though we've had Rygar on rate up before, he recently, just a couple months ago, received a major buff, and he is far stronger now than he used to be. That all being said, I'm going to get this right out of the gate, right out of my mouth. I don't think most people should summon. I actually think the vast majority of people should not summon. And that advice is not really a direct indictment of this banner. It's just the ancient summoning landscape, right? Going for good units on an ancient banner is insufficient, in my opinion. It is so important to try to get the strongest ancient exclusive units in the game that going for an ancient exclusive banner when it features very good but not exceptional ancient exclusive units is a very tough sell. I will say, if we're talking exceptional, for certain things, Carnelian is absolutely unbelievable. I think I would probably rate her, of the non-lords, the third strongest ancient exclusive in the game. I'd have to really give proper thought, but off the top of my head, obviously I'd rank Valara number 1, and it'd be almost impossible not to rank Ardia number 2. However, after that, though we've got really good units like Lubu and Sargok, Dasami's very good for certain things. Sithra is unbelievable. Actually, she'd probably be my number 4. Maybe she's my number 3. It's hard not to put Carnelian there just because of how crazy and unique she is. And actually, I probably would overall, across all content, slightly rate her above Sithra, just because other units can do what Sithra does, even if typically Sithra is the best at it. No one can do what Carnelian does, putting out those red dots with her soul essence effect and effectively giving allied units unyielding. Those red dots are ridiculous for tons and tons of content. So she is excellent. That being said, she's not Valara, and in my opinion, she's not even Ardia. I mean, Ardia is unbelievable. But I just think we live in a post-Valara world, and going for a banner where the legendary lord Rygar is quite good, you know, probably just in the top half, just at the bottom of the top half of legendary lords in the game right now, maybe even just under the top half, but he's certainly not at the bottom. But yeah, he's also certainly not top tier. Going for a banner where he is on the rate up as the Lord and Carnelian is on the rate up as the hero, you're talking about a very, very high tier ancient exclusive hero, but not one of the top 2. And you're talking about a good legendary Lord, but one who isn't even the best in his faction for a lot of stuff. Strictly speaking, it is really only Apocalypse, which has a million solutions now, Semra, and then now, of course, Abyss 1, that Rygar is going to be stronger than Torodor. In so much content, especially for progression, and also in GVG, Torodor is going to be superior, right? Just because he's a tank, because he has a revive on death, because he's got a more consistent defense break. Torodor is just going to be the more deployable of the 2 units. Certainly post-buff, Rygar is very good, but I mean, especially if you have a Torodor, you couldn't even dream of going for this. I will actually take this moment to do my little tangent. If you don't have Torodor and you're very, very interested in GVG, and in general, you love the uniqueness and the power of Carnelian, I think going for this banner is not so crazy, but once you hear my big point I want to make at the end, I still don't think you should do it. However, those are the people that I think can justify going for it, especially if you're a decent spender or you just have a ton saved. If you don't have either of these 2 guys, getting a legendary lord for the Nightmare Council is very important. And if you can pick up a Carnelian along the way, she's awesome, right? And I'll tell you, I didn't get her until a couple months ago. For probably 2 years playing this game, I didn't have Carnelian, and I felt it for certain content. However, I still survived. She is not game-breaking, though she is key and very strong in certain areas. So if you're the kind of player that just has an itchy finger, you know, you really just want to pull, and you don't have Carnelian and you don't have either Torodor or Rygar, you can go for it. However, let's get to the big point. I still wouldn't advise you to do it, and that is for the following reason. This. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Matrix is a disaster. I mean, you've heard me say that so many times. This content is strictly unbeatable. No one can beat it on the test server. We even have accounts like Medium C where his account is stronger than the test server. I mean, look at the gear. There we go. Look at this gear, right? Just god tier gear, test server max level gear, beautiful rolls into everything with recasting, refining, and special gems. An account like this Total God account, is doing a brilliant job, especially compared to the rest of us, or a lot of us, right? It's kind of what, this handful of people. There are 5 people in the entire world that have broken 100K. I think there's also one on the Asian server. Shout out to John Wayne. So it's remarkable and it's impressive, but even accounts like this with, great playing minds like this can't even get over 1/3 of the damage needed for the top chest. So as it stands now, this is by a mile the hardest content they've ever introduced on its initial global launch. So what's going to happen? Well, far less difficult content in the past immediately was met with a certain dev response or dev strategy. And that was the pretty immediate and steady release of units that are designed to help defeat that really difficult content. So if we look at something like APOC, right? If we think of Semra, APOC 1 and APOC 2, let's just go through the top units in this and see who is new. After this was released, we immediately got Kagiri. That was the next limited banner, a pretty clear and obvious solution. He ended up being a ridiculous unit for dealing damage, but that Dispel was absolutely everything. I can't see the talent here, but you know what his talent is, that he can dispel the buffs. And he was a very clean and straightforward solution to the Aegis mode that was getting everyone hung up. That happened almost immediately. Let's go back to the leaderboard and keep going through it. This entire poison team did not exist. Nastia, Numera, Vorn, all new, right? Ingrid was very, very recent, but Draylin didn't exist. Seung Wukong didn't come out for a couple months, and he was the ultimate power creep for Semra when he came out. I know now people think of him for everything and other things on Single Target Arena and Abyss, but when he originally came out, it was before people truly discovered his single target viability, though that didn't take that long, but for him to become so meta there, that did take a minute. And then Abyss didn't even exist. Obviously, he was amazing in Nightmare 4, but that was very soft content. It was Semra where he became the new unit that could nearly solo DPS it. It was absurd. But fairly soon after, almost immediately was Kagiri. Not long after was Seung Wukong. Then we got units like Numera and Narissa, just crazy DPS and then crazy support respectively. Narissa introduced a new excellent cleansing mechanic. Ireless has come very recently with some other excellent cleansing. We got also with Narissa new AoE damage reduction, where previously it was just Faircy. All these things, right? Draylin obviously came into the picture. And actually, if we look at it now, old teams like this, the old classic teams aren't needed at all. It used to be something like Praetus, and then either Init or Alistair, and so on and so on. And so in Constance, that's just not even that meta anymore. Yes, it's showing up in the top 20, but you get it. There are a million solutions to this, and the reason this content feels easy is because they slowly but surely added so many solutions right after it was released. So they, in a way, were just selling the solution or just making available new solutions. And that all being said, this is such easier content even on release than Matrix. People very quickly were getting 120K. Yes, it took crazy meta comps. It was always comps where one faction was led by Torodor and the other Praetus, but people solved that pretty quickly, so there were initial solutions, and then it was slowly that they introduced new units. Lyra, another one that had Dispel, right? Talon, all those guys have come out since then. They started releasing more and more characters that could solve this content. With Abyss, we saw the exact same thing, right? You're about to hear a lot of the same names. And again, this was still a lot more achievable on release. Top scorers week 1, week 2 were still over 2/3 of the way there. It took only a couple weeks for someone to get the first 60K. Though it felt very difficult, it was so much more approachable than what we're getting now with Matrix. And if we look here, Nastia, Vorn, all new, right? Numera was maybe right before, I'm trying to remember exactly. Draylin was new. They're just fresh solutions, right? And it's just Morden. So basically this entire crazy team that you see that is so dominant with Morden, Numera, Vorn, and Nastia all came out for this. So that's just kind of how it happened. Or we got units like Rygar finally getting buffed, but on the whole, this is what we're seeing. So I'm saying all this to make the point that if you go aggressively on a banner, I know this was feels like a crazy long rant about something else, but if you go aggressively on a banner like this one, where Rygar is pretty dang good and Carnelian is awesome, but not some heavy requirement for anything right now, though she is really cool, I think this banner is a really hard sell. In general, I don't think you should go for a banner for a non-lord unless it's Valara right now. And if the Lord's Rygar, I think it's a skip. Now, when you zoom out even further and you take into account my whole rant about what the release of Semra and Abyss 1 were like, it's very obvious to me, and I don't think this is a hot take, they're going to just immediately start releasing heroes week after week, month after month, that are going to help us with the impossible puzzle, the literally impossible puzzle that is Matrix 1. So taking on Zerbus is going to require units like this. I mean, look already in the introduction of Zerbus right before the update. When they did this update preview, you can see recommended was the summon team, and 2 of the units recommended of the 6 are coming soon. So would you be surprised at all if this unit and this unit that they are already recommending for this content come soon and help us solve this content? I want to give a shout out to this guy here, Dutch Bozo, who says, I wonder why both heroes are recommended for the newest unbeatable content. It's so obvious that they're trying to sell the only solution. This is not why most of us started playing this game. The second part is a rant for another day, but you get the picture, right? So if I'm just giving you advice on going for Rygar and Carnelian, how do you do it when we know already they're just telling us to our face 2 new units are coming and they are going to help us solve the new content. They are recommending them directly. So we don't know if they are ancient exclusive, but it certainly is possible. And if this guy is a lord, like I think, that all but guarantees he's an ancient exclusive, because we have never gotten a new lord in this game since the initial launch when we got the OG lords. We've never gotten a new lord after that point that wasn't ancient exclusive. Before I even made this video, there was already chatter that a new ancient exclusive cultist lord was coming. I hypothesized it here, and since, that chatter has gotten way louder as more people are, discussing rumors and stuff on Discord and on Reddit. So it really seems like that's what he could be, or otherwise another one's coming. So that's going to be an ancient exclusive. That's going to be someone you probably want to save your summons for. And who knows about this chick, right? And also, it won't just be those 2. It's hard to imagine the next new limited, which should be pretty soon, isn't going to be something that helps with this content. They're just going to rinse and repeat exactly what they did this time last year with Kagiri, right? They release APOC, they release Semra, it's too hard, and the first limited after that helps you solve it. Actually, the one rerun before that wasn't new was Lust, and she was the top option for that upon release, if you could get yourself an A5 Lust, so people went nuts for that. They know exactly what they're doing, so I'm trying to, I don't know if open your eyes is the right word, but at least make a lot of people privy to the fact that it's extremely likely over the next 2 months, we'll get at least 1, if not 2, ancient exclusive banners that feature new units that are going to be really good for the new hardest content, and maybe even newer, harder content that's coming. That's just the pattern. So I think it's extremely difficult to recommend those units. Yes, Rygar is on many of the top teams for Abyss, which is an incredibly important piece of content, but he's obviously not on all of them. Leia team, Rygar, Ingrid, Rygar, Ingrid. You get the picture, right? Rygar. So Rygar showing up like 5 times in the top 12. He's great, but he's not like a strict meta. He's on a lot of the best teams. He's on a lot of the most meta configurations, but there are other solutions. And then Carnelian, in my opinion, unless you're very, very invested in certain niche pieces of content or key things, like definitely a GVG and stuff like that, I just don't think she's like a must-have required hero, as amazing and insane as she is. So knowing that we're probably going to get a lot of new heroes before the end of the year and into 2026 that are going to be power creeping large portions of the game, I would say you shouldn't summon. If you're in that specific situation where you're really interested in the content Carnelian excels in and you don't have her, I don't blame you at all. She's freaking insane. And you don't have any legendary Nightmare Lord, so no Rygar and no Torodor, I think you can consider it. You can ask me about it in the comments. I still would say skip. For everyone else, unless you're a big spender, in which case do whatever you want, I think this is a pretty hard skip, even though it is a good banner. So there you go. I know I talked about a lot of things. Hopefully the edit comes out nice and clean. Thank you for humoring me. It's been a long day. I hope that helps some of you. Share with your mother. I've been Fastidious, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.